Today, I come to you talking about guilt, shame, judgment, and blame. It's one of the themes of consciousness on the lower level, and I thought it would be fun to make a whole series based off of this themes of consciousness table and just briefly discuss how every single one of them is important to understanding if it affects you in your life, as well as addressing them and making the steps forward in order to work through those and heal. Because every single one of us at some level have been affected by these emotions that are very human and very present in our current modern reality. So yeah, let's get started. Guilt and shame are both two sides of the same coin. Guilt can manifest after doing something or not doing something that was misaligned, miscalculated, or you were malinformed. You were just not tapped into the frequency of what your higher being ultimately wants for you. And it could just be as simple as saying that it was a standard that you would want to adhere to as somebody with morals. So by breaking or not stepping in for one of these boundaries, it's going to cause guilt and regret for not doing these things. And a lot of that ends up manifesting outward, and you end up projecting that guilt and that shame into judgment. And essentially what you couldn't do or what you had not realized was the right thing to do in that situation, that ultimately ended up being something that you became guilty for, you then project out into the world and infect others with that same feeling of guilt. And it doesn't have to just manifest as something that you had directly been guilty for. It can also just manifest as regular judgment, or you feel as if something does not align with who you are as a person, so you then proceed to judge another human being for something that is of a different perception than yours. And those things too can lead to shame. It goes both ways. Judging somebody can lead to shame, shame can lead to judgment. So it's kind of important for us to understand when we're doing these things and really get in touch with what it feels like, what it means to be shameful, to be regretful, and what it means to be judging. Not only are we judging people external, but as well internal, ourselves. A lot of people may tell you it's better off not thinking about these things. I have a really big problem with people who claim to be stoic, because it is not at all what you should be doing, because it's really just the suppression of emotions, and it really inhibits your ability to grow and to evolve as a human being and to realize what is really aligned and what is not. And it will eventually bring you to a state of not having to be shameful, of not having to be guilty. In a lot of circumstances, judgment and guilt and shame, these things all stem from parts of yourself that aren't addressed. And when you suppress these emotions and you go about bringing them external and projecting what is on the inside, people will be affected by it. And some people might notice what you're doing, and it will just ultimately be more embarrassing for you in the long run, and it will also just further deepen the problem for you. And we don't want either of that. So it's something that we need to feel and understand at a really fundamental level. What does it mean to be shameful? What does it mean to be guilty, regretful? And pondering these things, meditating on this, and really understanding those feelings, so we can then realize when they resurface in the future and also work through the things that have affected us in the past. When we're able to do this, we're able to realize, like, we don't need to be guilty of anything. People make mistakes. We're humans. We're not robots. And it's ultimately something that makes us suppressed and creates this society of shame, pointing at each other and being like, shameful, shame, shame. You know, my grandmother, my grandmother used to do that when I was a child. It's a very big thing in India. Regardless of the point, it's something that, yeah, a lot of ethnicities, a lot of different places around the world have just integrated this to be a part of their culture, and it's really funny to watch people who love to shame other people, and then they don't even realize themselves that they have problems. They have their own shames. They have their own judgments that they have against themselves. And that is what actually projects it out into the world, that they are struggling and that they are having a hard time having the love for themselves. So they direct it towards other people because they would rather not look within. They would rather view outside of themselves, because looking within is an unbearable feeling for a lot of people who are guilty. And it's understandable. That's one of the lowest tiers in the themes of consciousness. Although I don't really have them set in a fixed spot when I look at the chart, because it all depends on the human being. It all depends on just everything that's going on in life. Maybe the present moment, it's completely different. And there's also levels I like to look at it. I like to look at how you can judge something in a very rational, reasonable way. That's how you evolve, is by judging and realizing maybe there's a different way of going about the situation, right? But then there's another way where you're doing it and it's impacting you. It's due to something. It's all about intention. When you are going about judging something, are you judging because you yourself have this problem, or you yourself are going through something that is worth judging? Therefore, you go about judging others for the things that don't align with your perception. It's all very circumstantial, but it's very beneficial to know the difference. To be able to discern the difference is to be able to grow. It's to be able to have self-improvement be a fundamental core to who you are as a person. When you are able to discern these things, you are able to look at these two different types of situations, and you can use judgment of things that don't align with your vision as inspiration, as motivation, as something that can ignite and propel your creative energy, versus something that is coming from a bad place of judgment of yourself and of who you are as a human being, and you're throwing it out there and projecting it out onto other people. That's only going to cause you more guilt. It's a compounding effect. It's going to cause more guilt and sadness and low frequencies for other people who are being influenced. It's going to make you not have the emotional attunement to create something. It's not going to have the emotional benefits of being able to judge things in a sustainable, healthy way. And I love duality. I love to be able to embody duality, because it's just such a important part about this world. And I swear I will not preach it enough. I can never preach it enough. Duality is just not embraced as much as it should be in this modern time. So one thing I'd like to briefly touch on, and I don't want to get too much into because I'm going to make another video about identity, and I think that I will definitely go more in depth. When you are going about having this identity for yourself and you're very fixed in it, and you really want to cultivate this sense of understanding and organization and grounding in this chaotic world, for the people who are really trying to find a sense of justice and find a sense of understanding of what is good and what is bad, and trying to really have a hold on this chaotic life, which is just getting even more chaotic and chaotic. These people love to throw around judgments and point fingers, because it's something that doesn't align with their perception of what is good and what is bad. And I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. People need to be judging. People need to be discerning what is right and what is wrong. But there comes a problem when somebody's intellectual capabilities are lacking in the department of understanding the duality that comes with life. When you are judging something, pointing fingers at it, and you don't understand the perception of this, of the way that this person thinks, and maybe it's in a completely different perception than what you're assuming, it becomes a little like it's not it's not ideal, it's not something that we want to happen, and it's when you're needlessly going around pointing fingers saying you need to fix yourself, you need to check what you believe in, and what is the real question that is to be asked in a situation when you find yourself doing that or you find somebody else doing that is, what do you hope to gain from asking this question? What are you achieving by pointing fingers at somebody who, A, might have a completely different perception than what you are assuming? Number two, might not even want to be listening to what you have to say because they're in their own little world, their own little perception, regardless of if you're right or wrong. Number three, could you be using your energy to make a bigger difference? And things that don't align with your perception or things that don't align with what you believe to be the bigger picture, can you be using your energy to express yourself and what you believe in a different way? In modern day, a lot of people feel that it is necessary to point fingers and to judge people for their actions, for what they believe in, for what they like, for whatever. They just like to point fingers because we don't have a structured understanding of what it means to be a human being, to have an identity in a society that demands identity, in a society that makes you go through ego death if you don't have an identity, makes you feel like you're out of place, makes you feel like you are whatever, And a lot of people are going to use judgment as a coping mechanism to avoid the fact that they don't have a sense of understanding of the bigger picture or have a sense of understanding for themselves. And it's not their fault, but it's the problem lies within we are doing everything but what is necessary. And that is all I'm going to say on judgment and shame and blame and guilt. It's really ultimately up to you, and differentiate between all these emotions, all these different things, and it's very non-linear. And I really hope you understand that. I really hope you start to grasp the intensity of how non-linear it is. Life is chaotic. The universe is chaotic. God is chaotic. So you will have not a full comprehensible guide of what it means to be judging, to be regretful, to be shaming. It could all just be an intricate link of different types of emotions, different types of feelings. It could be very complex. So it's up to you to find that sense of meaning, that clarity. Remember that it's really okay to not find it all and figure it out in one day, in one session, because it's not meant to be. That's not what the journey of life is and self-discovery is. It's going to take time, and that's fun, and that's something that should be viewed as a joy of life and something that can ultimately lead to a more deeper rooted understanding of what it means to feel these emotions and be a human being. So take your time. Definitely look within, definitely meditate on it, and try and cultivate an understanding of what these words mean to you. And I'm not doubtful that you will come to a conclusion and be happy with the results that you find, and can help you grow if you're able to address these things and come to the understanding that this is a part of you and that's okay, and people learn and people can grow and people all share this problem.